What's up guys, Jack here, and recently I had a question from a viewer about a $500 to $600 PC build. So I went on PC Part Picker and I put this whole PC together, and it came out to around $506, so right around the $500 range. So if you're looking to build a $500 PC or anything like that, you're just trying to get into PC gaming basically, this machine will run pretty much any game at 1080p 60 FPS on max graphics. So I think I put together a pretty good PC for the price, especially with the 1080 and 1070 coming out. The older graphics cards, their prices went down quite a bit, so I could actually fit in some pretty good hardware into this PC. So let me pull up the PC part picker guide and show you guys. So here's the PC here, and I'm just going to go into each part and tell you guys why I chose it. Also, I would like to note, this does not include an operating system in the price. You can see right here it came out to $506.18. An operating system, if you buy it through PC Part Picker, I think the cheapest you can get it for is $80. But if you guys stay till the end, I'll show you guys how to get a free Windows key for around 20 bucks. So it's a lot cheaper, and I've used this method. It works completely fine. So just stay till the end, and I'll show you guys how to get an OS for pretty cheap if you are worried about that. So yeah, let's get into the actual build. The CPU here, the AMD FX 6300. A really good processor. I have a friend who has one of these. He says it's been going strong for quite a while. And it has a pretty good clock speed, 3.5 gigahertz. It's a 6-core processor, and it's pretty cheap too. It's an AMD processor, obviously, and the AMD processors are not really as popular, as I don't think they're really getting the amount of credit they should be getting, because these are really good processors and they're just a fraction of the price of Intel ones. So I think it's definitely a great pick. If you are not going to be doing too much like video rendering or heavy video editing or something like that, I think an AMD processor, something like this, will be perfectly fine. So the next part here is the Cooler Master Hyper T2. I was going to go with the Hyper 212 Evo, which is pretty much the baseline CPU cooler that everyone has. Really great views on the 212 Evo. If you are looking for a I think it's like $25 CPU cooler, that thing's great. But to save a little bit of money here, I went with a different option, also made by Cooler Master. And this does essentially the same thing. It looks almost identical to the 212 Evo, except it's a fraction of the price. It's only about $12 on Newegg, so really good deal. And I imagine it works just fine, because I've had no problems with my CPU cooler. So the motherboard here, I knew I wanted to have a AMD 970 chipset on the motherboard, and I basically just went with the cheapest 970 chipset, so this was pretty much that. There were a couple other ones that were a little bit cheaper, but I thought this Gigabyte one looked good. It has really good ratings. 4.2 stars in 43 ratings is pretty good, so I think this will be a really good motherboard. It supports, how much RAM does it support? 32 gig of RAM. I don't think you're going to be using any more than that. And it has some pretty good features on it as well, so I think you'll be perfectly fine using this this board from Gigabyte right here. The RAM here is the G-Skill Sniper Series. This is basically just the cheapest 8 gigabyte set of RAM that I could find. That looked somewhat decent and had somewhat decent reviews. So I mean, this will be fine. I don't think especially at this budget, I don't think it's going to matter too much on what 8 gigabyte RAM kit you get. So I think this is perfectly fine for this build. For storage, we did just go with a mechanical hard drive. There's no SSDs here. If you want to shell out the extra, you could probably shell out maybe 40 bucks and get like a 120 gig SSD. And that'll be good to hold a couple games that you frequently play, or maybe your OS or something. If you really wanted an SSD, you could definitely toss one into this build, but this one doesn't include one. I just got this 7200 RPM, 1 terabyte hard drive. Pretty standard. Western Digital Caviar Blue hard drive is that's like the baseline hard drive that everyone uses, so a really reliable hard drive. Alrighty, so here's the video card, and this is definitely where we spent the majority of our money. I was between this, the 970 and the 960, and I ended up going with the 380X because it has the performance of a 970, but it's at the price of a 960. So I definitely thought this was the best option, and it also can use all 4 gigabytes of its onboard memory, unlike the GTX 970, which has that problem where it cannot use all 4 gigs. But this card is amazing, I've heard. I have a friend who actually has this card as well, and he says it works great. He runs everything at 1080p 60 FPS. max graphics on pretty much every game, maybe except for like Ark, because Ark is like the Ark. I mean, that's kind of an exception. So the 380X though, I think is a fantastic card. It has great reviews, and I'm sure it definitely keeps up with, you know, the 970 and maybe even some better cards than that. But really great card, and I definitely think this is a good investment for this build. The case here, this is the Corsair Spec 01 ATX mid tower. You can go with any case you want, really. This is about a $40 case, so I budgeted about $40 in the build, so you guys could play around with the case. So any $40 or under case you could probably buy and still be somewhere around $500. And I know that the guy who asked me to build this PC for him wanted this case, so I fit it in there, and I think it's a pretty cool looking case, actually. It has a nice side panel, and it has this, I think it comes with a red fan on the front too, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's that. And the last thing here is just the power supply, just a regular 550 watt, 80 plus bronze, semi-modular power supply. I think this will be perfectly fine. I just basically found the first reputable power supply brand that I could find that was around 550 watts, at least 80 plus bronze, and had some sort of modularity in the cables. So this one checked all those boxes, and it was pretty cheap. So I think it's about, yeah, it's $35 on Newegg. And yeah, I think it's a pretty good power supply. I haven't actually used a Rosewell power supply. I don't know anyone with a Rosewell power supply, but I've seen lots of reviews on YouTube about them, and I think they'll be fine. Usually power supplies aren't a huge issue when it comes to building a PC, so I think this one will hold up fine. So that is pretty much the build, guys. Let me know if you have any other suggestions for other parts, and I'm going to show you guys real quick how to actually get an OS for this PC. If you're going to build this PC, you're going to need an operating system for it to run on. You're going to need Windows or something like that. Linux. I don't know if people still use Linux, but yeah, I'll show you guys how to get a Windows 10 key for around $20. Alright guys, so to get the actual operating system, we're just going to go over to kinguin.net, spelled just like that, and once this comes up, we can type in Windows 10 key. There we go. And these two things should pop up, and all you have to do is just go over here, see all choices. How about that? So all you have to do now is just buy a Windows 10 key. You can get protection on this, so you know you won't get scammed. Kinguin's definitely a reliable website. I've purchased things from them before. I also have purchased my Windows key from Kinguin, so you have my word that this is a reliable resource, and you won't get scammed as long as you... I would just recommend buying this extra $1 buyer protection. It's not a big deal, you know, $1, so I think it's definitely worth it if anything ever goes wrong. So yeah, that's that. You just buy this key, and it'll show on your screen just it's a pretty long key, so you either should write it down or take a picture of it. So once you have that, you're gonna navigate over to oh god, what am I doing? Windows 10 install, and then you're gonna go to this link right here. So once we get on this page, we're gonna go right here to where it says download tool now. You're gonna download this tool and then install it onto a USB flash drive on your computer. So all you have to do is basically just click this button, plug in your USB flash drive, and then you should have some sort of installation destination, and just install the tool to your USB drive. So once you've done that, when you're building your PC, you plug the USB drive into your PC, and when you're in the BIOS, you just tell it to boot from the USB drive, and it'll boot from the USB drive, it'll boot Windows, or it'll boot the Windows installer, and then right when it boots up, it'll say serial key required, and that is where you get your serial key from here, and you just basically copy it into the window, and it should work. And after that, then you should be up and running on Windows 10. So that is an easy way to get Windows 10 for, you know, $26, a lot cheaper than. Let me find Windows 10 for Windows 10. Let's see how much it is. Yeah, $180. It's about $85. Oh, here's one for $60. Yeah, around, you know, you're going to be saving a lot of money, though, if you do it this method. Alright, guys, so if you have any more comments or questions or anything like that, you want to make a suggestion of a PC part, leave those down below. I usually read the comments, and I'll try and respond to as many as I can. And yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.